Imagine a land so vast that maps call it a continent within a continent, a place where forests breathe, rivers run like slow arteries, and winter arrives with a certainty that shapes every life. Hold that image. Breathe it in. This is Siberia, not a single story, but a chorus. Taiga, tundra, mountains, rivers, people, and ghosts of ice. Stay with me. What follows will change how you see cold, endurance, and the surprising warmth of life beyond the edge. Picture dawn across endless larch and spruce. A thin gold line on black trunks, steam rising where the land exhales. The taiga is a green ocean with its own tides. Fire tides in summer, snow tides in winter, and beneath the trees, the soil holds memory, ancient carbon, trapped since the last great cold. In places, the soil is permafrost, a sleeping ledger of centuries. In others, it is thawing, folding, releasing stories we did not expect to hear. Listen. The forest creaks, a branch snaps, and somewhere far off a raven laughs like punctuation. Travel farther north, and the map changes tone. The tundra spreads like a quilt of lichen and dwarf shrubs. The ground is patterned with polygonal cracks that look almost deliberate, like art. Rivers Lena Ob, Yenisei carved their patient courses braided and slow, carrying water and life toward an indifferent Arctic. These waterways are lifelines for people and beasts alike. In summer, they become highways for boats and barges. In winter, they freeze into ice roads that stitch remote settlements to the rest of the world. People here have learned to read the land the way others read a clock. Indigenous communities, Yakut, Nenets, Evenki, Chukchi, and many more carry knowledge that acts like a living instrument. When to move the herd, when the ice will hold, how to find shelter in a blizzard that erases tracks in minutes. Their lives are entwined with reindeer, fish, and the migrating heartbeat of birds. Reindeer caravans trace seasonal geometry across the plain. They are currency, food, and identity. A child learning to call a reindeer home is learning to translate the language of wind. Survival in Siberia is craft and ritual. Clothing here is not fashion, it is a promise. Layers trap heat like careful arguments. Fur trims and sealskin boots are engineering honed by necessity. Huts and izbas are built with an eye to thrift and thermal logic. Low eaves, compact rooms, stoves that hold more than heat, they hold story. The stove is hearth and archive, smoke carries the smell of food, and the sound of a kettle is a metronome for daily life. But Siberia is not only quiet endurance, it is also industry and extraction. Beneath the ground, there are riches, oil, gas, diamonds, gold. Towns punctuate the landscape where mines and pipelines demand labor and create connections to distant markets. The Trans-Siberian Railway threads a metal vein across the continent, a human-made river that moves timber and ore, travelers and stories. Wildlife here keeps remarkable calendars. Brown bears fatten and den, then wake like clockwork. Wolves move in packs that read the land with precise social intelligence. Sable and ermine slip through underbrush like stitched shadows. In the far east, the Amur tiger, fierce and secretive, still patrols river corridors, a rare and luminous presence in mixed forest and floodplain. In the frozen lakes and rivers, fish runs dictate rhythm. Fishermen read the water like scripture. Siberia also holds deep time in its ice. In permafrost, the dead are sometimes not entirely gone. Mammoth bones and tusks emerge from thawing sediment like relics from another age. Scientists unearth these remains and read them like weathered books, tracing climates and migrations that predate human memory. But thawing also reveals more fragile things. Trapped greenhouse gases, methane bubbling from thaw ponds, microbial life waking after long sleep. These are not just curiosities, they are clues to a planetary conversation where Siberia plays a large, sometimes loud, part. The climate here is a teacher and a threat. Winters can be vast and unyielding temperatures that bite through bone, auroras that crown the night, and summers can be sudden and intense, feeding wildfires that race through peat and forest. In recent years, those fires have grown larger, running over carbon-rich soils and releasing plumes that cross continents. Permafrost thaw destabilizes buildings and roads, and entire villages sometimes need to relocate as the ground becomes unreliable. For communities that have lived with freeze and thaw for generations, these changes are not abstractions. They are shifting calendars, new hazards, fresh grief. Yet adaptation is a living practice here. Indigenous governance and modern engineering meet in projects that try to hold livelihoods together. Communities build homes on adjustable pilings, pilot microgrids to replace diesel shipments, and map migration corridors for animals and people. Scientists set up networks of sensors to monitor soil, temperature, and methane, handing the data to local managers who use it to make real-time choices. The most durable solutions are rarely top-down. They are local, iterative, and respectful of tradition. Culture in Siberia is stitched from extremes. Storytelling is a daily rhythm, tales of forest spirits, of clever foxes, of ancestors who crossed frozen seas. Music uses throat singing and drum to match landscape, long, resonant tones that echo the vastness of steppe and taiga. Artisans carve bone and wood, creating objects that are both practical and ceremonial. In towns, contemporary artists remix these motifs, making work that speaks to a global audience while rooted in place. Transport here is a choreography of seasons. In winter, planes with skis and heavy-laden trucks on ice roads are lifelines. In summer, barges float where roads are only memory. Pilots and drivers become skilled negotiators with weather, knowing a window of calm can be the difference between arrival and disaster. These rhythms shape economies and families, harvests timed to river opening, resupply runs that must beat the freeze. There is also a complicated human history written into these landscapes. For some communities, memory includes forced relocations and political trauma that changed populations and land use. For others, contact wrought trade and innovation. The past interweaves with present-day identity in ways that are sometimes tender, sometimes contentious, always essential to understand. Science in Siberia is urgent and intimate. Ice cores, tree rings, and sediment tell stories of past climates. Satellite imagery maps present day change. Researchers work shoulder to shoulder with hunters and elders because models alone cannot capture the nuances of local conditions. Together they ask practical questions: which migration routes remain? Where will rivers cut new channels? How to design houses for thawing ground? These are not academic quandaries. They are the architecture of survival. And then there are the human details that carry us back from abstraction. A grandmother in Yakutsk knitting mittens with precise practice loops, a child on a frozen river learning to ice fish with patient guidance, a mechanic in a mining town welding a broken track, sparks like small, stubborn stars. These moments are the fabric of life, small, quotidian, and astonishing, precisely because they persist. As we watch, remember this: Siberia is not merely remote wilderness. It is a living system, ecological, cultural, industrial, where choices made elsewhere ripple here and back again. What happens when permafrost thaws, when forests burn, when shipping lanes redraw? Those are not distant stories. They are chapters in a shared book. Stay with me for the next part. We will move from landscape to household, from policy to practice. We will meet the people who are mapping adaptation in real time, and the scientists who translate permafrost pulses into global warnings. We will listen to songs, to engines, to the slow, patient language of ice. The story continues deeper, closer, and necessary.
Oh, the wind howls cold, but the fire burns bright. We sing through the
Listen. The map swallows distance, and what remains is people, movement, and habit. Stay with me. We pick up where the land meets the household, where nomads and villagers shape rhythm from wind and snow and invent ways to keep living when the rules rearrange. Imagine a caravan of reindeer moving across a flat that could be ocean. They are not livestock alone. They are calendars, wallets, and kin. Herders walk behind like notes following a melody, soft calls, the click of harness, the rattle of sleds. A child learns this language by ear. Which way the herd will turn, where the moss is richest, which stream will hold in spring. The nomadic tent, yurt, chum, yaranga becomes a portable home, an architecture solved for wind, for quick assembly, for warmth that travels. Food is smoked and pressed into compact wealth. Tools are simple and precise, a knife that does everything, a rope that binds world to sled. There is economy here that does not read on a ledger the same way the city does. Exchange happens in meat and trust, in the return favor of shared gear, in the barter of knowledge. Traditional village life is different but kin. Villages are anchored to river bends, to sheltering coves, to places where driftwood accumulates and the earth holds form. Houses are built with memory-sturdy frames, low eaves, stoves that hold history in their iron belly. Inside, everyday objects are evidence of a practiced life. A line of fish drying, a shelf of painted spoons, a stack of winter boots by the door. Meals are a ceremony of necessity. People gather to gut salmon.
Hands together, high and low. Round and round the fingers go. I clap yours and you clap mine.
To share the work that keeps the town fed through months of dark. Stories travel. Names of rivers and hunting grounds are recited like prayer. A map stored in voices. Nomads and villagers are not opposites, they trade. Herders bring furs and seasonal meat to village markets. Villages provide grain, batteries, and the occasional mechanic who can fix a snowmobile when belts snap. These exchanges are social glue. At festival time, the distinctions blur. Songs flow, drums beat, and the community sings a map of itself into being. There is a ritual intelligence to movement. A reindeer caravan will detour for a lichen patch known only to elders. Hunters plan routes not only for game but to avoid thawing bogs, to skirt newly opened channels. In the spring thaw, sleds give way to all-terrain carriers. In late autumn, pilots time landings to a window of hard snow. This choreography is knowledge cumulative, tested, traded, and when the ground changes, so too must the choreography. Adaptation here is often improvisation. Inside a family hut, daily survival is a sequence of small labors that together are a kind of mastery. One woman tends smokehouse fires with the same attention a banker might give to ledgers, temperature, time, humidity. A man patches a seal skin with practiced thumb work that will hold through wind and thaw. Children learn to file ice with the same seriousness they use to file school reports. Work and learning are contiguous. Craft is pedagogy. Survival is inheritance. Healthcare takes a local shape. Clinics operate on triage that trusts community aides and remote specialists in equal measure. Stories of long-distance medevacs are common. The pilot's skill is as valued as the doctor's knowledge. Mental health is addressed in small ways, community gatherings, shared song circles, the slow ritual of making soup. These are not mere comforts. They are methods of holding people through long nights and sudden loss. Economy and extraction press hard on these traditions. Mines and pipelines bring wages and roads. They also bring dust, noise, and social change. For some, new jobs mean schooling, internet, a different horizon of possibility. For others, the landscape of work narrows and the old trades feel squeezed. Balancing this is political as much as practical. Local councils negotiate royalties and rules. Elders insist on protections for sacred sites. Young entrepreneurs try to keep enterprises local rather than let profit flow outward. These negotiations shape who stays and who leaves, who speaks in local assemblies, and who learns to read legal texts the way elders once read snow. Siberia's nomads and villagers are innovators in ways outsiders often miss. They build adjustable foundations when permafrost sags. They raise seasonal markets that rotate with migration. They prototype small-scale energy systems that keep lights on when diesel trucks fail. Technology here is pragmatic. Solar panels mounted at steep angles to shed snow. Drones used to check herd locations. Low-power sensors that measure thawing ground and send a pulse to a village phone. But technology without local control can feel like a storm of gadgets with no anchor. The most powerful inventions are those co-designed with local hands tools that respond to practice. Ceremonies mark seasonal thresholds, the first fish, the return of birds, the onset of winter. In some places, offerings are still made to spirits of river and forest, not out of superstition, but as a way to formalize respect. This moral ecology reinforces restraint. Take only what you need, share what you can, honor the place that feeds you. In an age of easy extraction, such restraints are practical ethics. Education is transforming. Schools teach both the national curriculum and local languages. Children learn to code and to skin a seal in the same week. Some youth leave for university, others return with new skills and a different vocabulary for old problems. These returning students are often the ones who build local microgrids, start ecotourism cooperatives, or lobby for changed fishing regulations. Education becomes an axis where tradition and innovation meet. Conflict is also part of the story. Disputes over land use, over mining permits, over hunting rights, play out in council chambers and at protest lines. These struggles are not abstract. They are about whether a river remains clean enough to spawn salmon, whether a winter path will be safe for elders, whether a sacred place remains respected. They are political, emotional, and deeply local. A village that planted a belt of willows to slow erosion and saw its shoreline hold. A nomadic family that adapted migration timing and preserved their herd through a warmer winter. A cooperative that rerouted profits into a community fund for school and health. These victories are small and stubborn. They add up. Siberia also speaks to larger futures. Permafrost thaw releases methane, fires release carbon, new shipping lanes open across Arctic seas. These are global dynamics with local faces. What a village decides about its shoreline matters to a coastline thousands of miles away. The choices of industries in distant cities change the weather that Russian farmers and Yakut herders read every year. This is not merely an ecological lecture. It is a moral ledger as we near the end. Picture again a caravan dissolving into distance, a child waving from a hut door, an elder tracing the lines of a map drawn only in memory. There is urgency here, yes, but there is also agency, a refusal to be swept aside. These communities are not waiting for solutions to arrive. They are crafting them in stoves and songs, in pilings and petitions, in classroom projects and joint councils. If you listen closely, Siberia's story is not only about loss, it is about the persistent intelligence of people who have always lived at scale, who read wind, who teach by doing, who make a life from hard materials and softer practices. It is about a culture that can remodel itself without losing its heart. It is about stewardship born of necessity and of love. Carry that image with you. Nomads, villagers, scientists, and children, each doing what they must to keep place and story intact. Let it complicate your understanding of climate headlines and lazy narratives of decline. Let it remind you that solutions are often local, generous, and practical. Let it invite curiosity, and if you can, action support for community-led projects, respectful tourism, and policies that recognize local rights. We will name the villages, the elders, and the projects who shared time with us in the credits. For now, hold this scene, a small fire glowing under a wide Arctic sky, a circle of people talking, a language of survival and care passing from hand to hand. Stay with that warmth as you step back into your own woe.